Welcome to Idea Cartography, where we map the mind, chart the journey, and turn every idea into direction. At Idea Cartography, we don't fear the wrong turns, we study them, we learn from them, and we turn them into coordinates for success. Rebuilding yourself is not a moment. It is not a sudden awakening or a single burst of clarity that rearranges your entire life. Rebuilding yourself is a slow, intentional return to the truth of who you are beneath the noise, beneath the doubt, beneath the weight of everything you've carried for far too long. It is the quiet decision to rise again, even when rising feels unfamiliar. It is the choice to gather the pieces of yourself that hardship scattered and begin placing them back with care, with wisdom, with a deeper understanding of your own strength. And it begins long before anyone else notices. It begins in the private spaces where you whisper to yourself that you are not finished. Because rebuilding is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering the resilience you forgot you had. It is about rediscovering the courage that adversity buried. It is about returning to the foundation of your own worth and choosing to build upward again. And that choice, that sacred, steady choice, is where transformation begins. There are seasons when everything familiar falls apart. The plans you trusted collapse. The people you leaned on shift. The identity you once wore no longer fits the person you are becoming. And in those seasons, it is easy to believe that the breaking is the end. But breaking is often the beginning. Because when the old structure falls, you finally have room to build something stronger, something truer, something aligned with the person you were always meant to be. Rebuilding begins with honesty. Honesty about what hurt you. Honesty about what shaped you. Honesty about what you lost, what you learned, and what you can no longer carry into the next chapter of your life. Because you cannot rebuild on top of denial. You cannot rebuild on top of avoidance. You cannot rebuild on top of the version of yourself you pretend to be. You rebuild by standing in the truth of where you are and choosing to move forward anyway. And that choice is not loud. It is not glamorous. It is not celebrated by crowds or applauded by the world. It is quiet. It is personal. It is the kind of choice you make in the stillness of your own heart when no one is watching. It is the moment you decide that your story is not over. It is the moment you decide that your future deserves a stronger version of you. It is the moment you decide that you will not let the breaking define you. You will let it refine you. Rebuilding requires patience because growth does not happen on command. Healing does not follow a schedule. Strength does not appear overnight. Rebuilding is a process of small, steady steps that eventually become a new foundation. It is the willingness to take one breath at a time, one decision at a time, one act of courage at a time. And even when progress feels slow, even when the path feels unclear, even when the weight feels heavy, you keep moving. Because rebuilding is not about speed. It is about direction. And the direction you choose today will shape the life you walk into tomorrow. You rebuild by choosing to show up for yourself even when you feel tired. You rebuild by choosing to believe in your future even when your past feels loud. You rebuild by choosing to trust the process even when the outcome is still unfolding. Because rebuilding is not a destination, it is a commitment to becoming stronger, a commitment to becoming wiser, a commitment to becoming whole. And the truth is, you already have everything you need to rebuild. You have the strength that carried you through every storm you thought would break you. You have the resilience that rose inside you when life demanded more than you felt capable of giving. You have the courage that whispered, "Try again," even when disappointment sat heavy on your chest. You have the wisdom that only comes from surviving what you once feared. You have the clarity that grows in the aftermath of loss. You have the fire that refuses to go out, even when the world grows cold. Rebuilding is not about starting from scratch. It is about starting from experience. It is about taking everything you've learned, the pain, the lessons, the breakthroughs, the setbacks, and using it as material for the life you are building next. Because nothing you've lived through is wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the confusion, not the disappointment, not the detours. Every moment has shaped you. Every challenge has strengthened you. Every setback has prepared you. And now you rebuild with a deeper understanding of who you are and what you're capable of. Rebuilding yourself means letting go of the version of you that survived so you can become the version of you that thrives. It means releasing the habits that kept you small. It means releasing the beliefs that kept you doubting. It means releasing the fears that kept you frozen, because you cannot rebuild a powerful life with the tools you used to protect yourself in survival mode. Survival mode kept you alive, but rebuilding mode will help you live. And living requires courage. The courage to trust again, the courage to hope again, the courage to believe that your future can be brighter than your past, the courage to step into the unknown with a heart that has been broken but not beaten, the courage to rebuild even when you're still healing, because healing and rebuilding often happen at the same time. You do not have to be fully restored to begin rising. You rise as you heal. You rise as you learn. You rise as you grow. You rise as you rebuild. And every step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration that you are choosing your future over your fear. You are choosing your purpose over your pain. You are choosing your strength over your struggle. You are choosing your becoming over your breaking. You rebuild by choosing to believe that your life is not defined by what broke you, but by how you rise after the breaking. You rebuild by choosing to trust that the pieces left in your hands are enough to begin again. You rebuild by choosing to honor the strength that carried you this far and the strength that will carry you further still. Because rebuilding is not about perfection. It is about persistence. It is about showing up for yourself even when the world feels heavy. It is about taking the next step even when the path ahead is still forming beneath your feet. It is about believing that your future deserves the version of you who refuses to give up. And the truth is, rebuilding yourself will require you to confront the parts of your life that no longer serve you. It will require you to release the habits that kept you comfortable but stagnant. It will require you to let go of the relationships that drained you more than they supported you. It will require you to walk away from the environments that kept you small, because you cannot rebuild a powerful life on a foundation that was built for a weaker version of you. You cannot rise while holding on to what was meant for a chapter you have already outgrown. Rebuilding means choosing yourself, even when choosing yourself feels unfamiliar. It means prioritizing your peace, even when chaos tries to reclaim your attention. It means protecting your energy, even when old patterns try to pull you back. It means honoring your boundaries, even when others do not understand them. Because rebuilding is not just about what you add to your life. It is also about what you remove. It is about clearing the space for the person you are becoming. It is about making room for the strength that is growing inside you. And as you rebuild, you will notice something powerful. You will notice that the things that once broke you no longer hold the same weight. You will notice that the fears that once controlled you no longer have the same power. You will notice that the doubts that once silenced you no longer have the same voice. Because rebuilding changes you. It deepens you. It strengthens you. It teaches you to trust yourself in ways you never have before. Rebuilding yourself means learning to stand tall even when the ground beneath you is still settling. It means learning to breathe deeply even when uncertainty surrounds you. It means learning to move forward even when the path is not fully clear. Because clarity often comes after the courage to begin. Direction often comes after the decision to move. Strength often comes after the willingness to try. And as you rebuild, you will discover that you are capable of far more than you once believed. You will discover that the strength you carry is not fragile, it is forged. Forged in the moments that tested you. Forged in the nights that stretched you. Forged in the seasons that demanded more from you than you thought you had to give. And yet, here you are, still standing, still rising, still becoming. Rebuilding yourself means embracing the truth that you are not defined by your past. You are shaped by it, yes. You are strengthened by it, yes. But you are not confined by it. Your past is a chapter, not a cage, a lesson, not a life sentence, a stepping stone, not a stopping point. And rebuilding is the moment you decide to step forward into the life that is waiting for you. You rebuild by choosing to believe that your future is worth fighting for. You rebuild by choosing to trust that the vision inside you was not an accident. You rebuild by choosing to honor the calling that keeps tugging at your spirit. Because rebuilding is not just about healing what was broken. It is about becoming who you were always meant to be. And becoming requires courage. The courage to face your fears. The courage to confront your truth. The courage to release your past. The courage to trust your journey. The courage to rise even when rising feels heavy. The courage to rebuild even when rebuilding feels slow. But every step you take is a declaration that you are choosing your future over your fear. Every breath you take is a reminder that you are still here. Every moment you rise is proof that you are stronger than anything that tried to break you. You rebuild by choosing to believe that you are worthy of the life you are creating. You rebuild by choosing to believe that you deserve peace. You rebuild by choosing to believe that you deserve joy. You rebuild by choosing to believe that you deserve love. You rebuild by choosing to believe that you deserve to become the fullest version of yourself. And as you rebuild, you will begin to see the beauty in the process. You will begin to see the purpose in the pain. You will begin to see the wisdom in the waiting. You will begin to see the strength in the struggle. Because rebuilding reveals what breaking could not. It reveals your resilience. It reveals your courage. It reveals your capacity to rise. The version of you who has survived storms you never asked for. The version of you who has carried burdens you never expected to hold. The version of you who has walked through darkness and still found a way to reach for the light. The version of you who has been stretched, tested, challenged, and refined. Because the person you are becoming is not fragile. They are forged. Forged in the fire of everything you thought would break you. Forged in the pressure of everything you thought you couldn't handle. Forged in the silence of nights when you had to encourage yourself because no one else knew how. Rebuilding means honoring that strength. Honoring the resilience that kept you standing. Honoring the courage that kept you moving. Honoring the wisdom that grew in the cracks of your breaking. Because rebuilding is not just about rising. It is about rising with understanding. Understanding of who you are. Understanding of what you need. Understanding of what you will no longer accept. Understanding of what you are capable of. And as you rebuild, you will begin to see that the life you are creating is not built on the same foundation as before. It is built on truth. It is built on clarity. It is built on intention. It is built on the lessons you earned through experience, not the illusions you once believed. Because rebuilding requires you to see yourself clearly, not through the lens of your past, not through the expectations of others, not through the fear that once held you back, but through the truth of your own becoming. Rebuilding yourself means learning to trust your own voice again, the voice that was drowned out by doubt, the voice that was silenced by fear, the voice that was overshadowed by the noise of the world, the voice that knows who you are and who you are meant to be, because your voice is your compass. Your voice is your guide. Your voice is the map that leads you back to yourself. And when you begin to trust that voice, everything changes. You begin to make decisions that honor your growth. You begin to walk away from what no longer aligns with your purpose. You begin to choose peace over chaos. You begin to choose clarity over confusion. You begin to choose yourself over the expectations that once controlled you. Because rebuilding is not just about what you create, it is about who you become in the process. Rebuilding yourself means learning to embrace the unknown, because the unknown is where transformation happens. The unknown is where new possibilities live. The unknown is where you discover the strength you didn't know you had. The unknown is where you meet the version of yourself who is ready for the life you are building. And yes, the unknown can be uncomfortable. It can be unsettling. It can be intimidating. But it is also where your future begins. Rebuilding requires you to step into that unknown with courage. Courage to trust the process. Courage to believe in your path. Courage to take the next step, even when you cannot see the entire road. Because rebuilding is not about having all the answers. It is about having the courage to begin without them. And as you rebuild, you will notice that the things you once feared no longer hold the same power. You will notice that the doubts that once paralyzed you no longer have the same grip. You will notice that the insecurities that once controlled you no longer dictate your choices, because rebuilding strengthens you from the inside out. It teaches you to trust yourself. It teaches you to believe in yourself. It teaches you to stand in your truth, even when the world tries to shake you. Rebuilding yourself means learning to celebrate the small victories. The days you get out of bed, even when your heart feels heavy. The moments you choose peace over chaos. The times you speak up for yourself when silence would have been easier. The decisions you make that honor your growth instead of your fear. Because rebuilding is not measured by perfection. It is measured by progress. And every step forward, no matter how small is the step toward the life you are creating. Rebuilding yourself means learning to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you made when you didn't know better. Forgive yourself for the times you stayed too long. Forgive yourself for the moments you doubted your worth. Forgive yourself for the seasons when survival was the only thing you could manage, because rebuilding requires compassion. Compassion for who you were, compassion for who you are, compassion for who you are becoming. And when you give yourself that compassion, you create space for healing. You create space for growth. You create space for transformation, because rebuilding is not just about putting the pieces back together. It is about becoming whole in a new way. Rebuilding yourself means learning to trust the timing of your life, because timing is not always gentle. Timing is not always predictable. Timing is not always aligned with your expectations, but timing is always purposeful. There are seasons when everything feels delayed, seasons when progress feels slow, seasons when nothing seems to be moving the way you hoped. And in those seasons, it is easy to believe that you are stuck, but you are not stuck. You are being shaped. You are being strengthened. You are being prepared, because rebuilding requires a foundation that can hold the weight of the life you are stepping into. And foundations take time. They take patience. They take intention. They take the willingness to trust that even when you cannot see the progress is still happening. Because rebuilding is not always visible. Sometimes the most important work happens beneath the surface, in the quiet, in the stillness, in the moments when it feels like nothing is changing, but everything is. Rebuilding yourself means learning to honor the pace of your own growth, not the pace of the world, not the pace of the people around you, not the pace of your past expectations. Your pace, the pace that aligns with your healing, the pace that aligns with your becoming, the pace that aligns with the life you are building. Because growth is not a race, it is a rhythm, and your rhythm is enough. Rebuilding yourself means learning to let go of the pressure to have everything figured out, because no one has everything figured out. Not the people who look confident, not the people who seem successful, not the people who appear unshaken. Everyone is navigating something. Everyone is rebuilding something. Everyone is learning something. And the moment you release the pressure to be perfect, you create space to be present, present with your growth, present with your healing, present with your journey. Rebuilding yourself means learning to trust that you are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to outgrow old dreams. You are allowed to release old identities. You are allowed to become someone new. Because evolution is not betrayal. It is alignment. It is the moment you choose to honor the truth of who you are becoming instead of clinging to the version of yourself that once felt safe. Rebuilding yourself means learning to embrace the discomfort of growth, because growth is uncomfortable. It stretches you. It challenges you. It pushes you beyond the limits you once believed were fixed. But discomfort is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. Discomfort is a sign that you are expanding. Discomfort is a sign that you are stepping into new territory. Discomfort is a sign that you are becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Rebuilding yourself means learning to trust the process even when the process feels messy. Because rebuilding is not linear. It is not a straight line. It is not a clean, predictable journey. It is a series of steps forward and steps back. Moments of clarity and moments of confusion. Breakthroughs and setbacks. Strength and vulnerability. But every part of the process matters. Every part of the process shapes you. Every part of the process prepares you. Rebuilding yourself means learning to see progress in places you once overlooked. Progress in the way you speak to yourself. progress in the way you set boundaries, progress in the way you choose peace, progress in the way you honor your needs, progress in the way you show up for your future. Because progress is not always loud. Sometimes progress is quiet. Sometimes progress is subtle. Sometimes progress is simply choosing not to give up. Rebuilding yourself means learning to trust that you are worthy of the life you are creating, worthy of the healing, worthy of the peace, worthy of the joy, worthy of the love, worthy of the opportunities, worthy of the future that is unfolding for you. Because worthiness is not something you earn. It is something you remember. And rebuilding is the process of remembering who you are. Rebuilding yourself means learning to release the fear of starting over. Because starting over is not failure. Starting over is courage. Starting over is clarity. Starting over is the moment you choose to build something better than what you lost. Something stronger, something truer, something aligned with the person you are becoming. Rebuilding yourself means learning to trust that you are not behind. You are not late. You are not off track. You are exactly where you need to be to learn what you need to learn, to grow how you need to grow, to become who you need to become. Because rebuilding is not about catching up. It is about rising up. Rebuilding yourself means learning to trust that the strength you need will reveal itself at the moment you need it most. Not before, not after, right on time. Because strength is not something you wait for. Strength is something you grow into. It is something that expands as you expand. It is something that rises as you rise. And the more you rebuild, the more you realize that strength is not loud. Strength is steady. Strength is patient. Strength is the quiet confidence that whispers, "You've survived worse than this." Rebuilding yourself means learning to see yourself through a lens of compassion instead of criticism. Because criticism keeps you stuck in the past. Compassion moves you toward the future. Criticism focuses on what went wrong. Compassion focuses on what can be rebuilt. Criticism punishes you for being human. Compassion honors you for being resilient. And rebuilding requires resilience. Rebuilding requires grace. Idea cartography. Chart boldly and walk your own map. Subscribe if you're mapping your own path.